List, where we review, discuss, and reimagine popular movie lists. We're your hosts. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad. And in this episode, we are exploring number 94 from AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions, the 100 Top Love Stories of All Time.
All right, and number 94 is Body Heat, released in 1981, directed by Lawrence Kasdan, starring Kathleen Turner and William Hurt.
So, the synopsis of this erotic thriller is as follows. Inept South Bay, Florida lawyer Ned Racine, played by William Hurt, meets and begins a torrid affair with socialite Maddie Walker, played by Kathleen Turner. During one late-night visit, Ned shows up and playfully propositions Maddie, who has her back to him. She turns around and it's actually Maddie's old friend, Marianne Simpson, who bears a striking resemblance to Maddie. Maddie confesses she wants a divorce, but would be left with nothing because of a prenuptial agreement. Ned suggests murdering Maddie's husband, Edmund, so she inherits his wealth. Ned comes up with a scheme to make it look like Edmund dies in a building fire at a vacant lot that he owns. Soon after the death, Edmund's lawyers contact Ned about a revised will he wrote. A clerical error makes it null and void, meaning that Maddie gets everything and cuts out Edmund's sister and niece. Ned had warned Maddie previously about greed and knows the new will look suspicious. Ned's friends, the ADA, played by Ted Danson, and a detective suspect his involvement. Evidence mounts, and Marianne, the one witness to the new will, can't be found. Ned questions Maddie's loyalty. She leads him to her bathhouse for some of the evidence against him, but he knows it's wired to explode. Instead, Ned asks her to go inside. She walks towards it, and it explodes. The body of Maddie Walker is found inside. In prison, Ned figures out Maddie is really Marianne Simpson, and the body is actually Maddie Walker. So she switched identities with her friend. In the final scene, a wistful Maddie lounges on a tropical beach.
All right.
So this is the set. Like earlier, when we were discussing a few episodes back, when we were discussing The Hunchback of Notre Dame, we were talking about how The Hunchback of Notre Dame is a great film, but we weren't sure why it's on the list. This is the second such entry for me. So
yes, me too.
So Lawrence Kasdan holds a very special place in my heart. He happens to be the writer of my two favorite movies of all time. So he wrote The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Empire Strikes Back is one of my favorite movies of all time. And he also wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark, which, depending on which day you catch me, Empire's number one, Raiders is number one. I love both of those movies. I've seen them both probably 1,000 times each. So Lawrence Kasdan had a real good run from 1980 when he wrote the screenplay to Empire Strikes Back through 1990. I think 1990 is when he did I can't think of the name of the movie, but he had a real big run there where everything he did was gold. You know, he wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark. He did this movie, which is a fantastic film. He did Silverado, which is a really great modern Western. And then Grand Canyon in 1990 was another really, really good film of his. He has been one of the best screenwriters in Hollywood for a very long time. He's also an undersung director. Both of his sons have, since, become filmmakers themselves and do really great work. He writes really great dialogue. There's a lot of really good stuff in this movie. Is it a great love story? Let's discuss.
Discuss. No, listen, this movie is shot really well and everything. I do not enjoy this movie as much as Brad does. I find it okay. I think it's really the subject matter that I just don't, it's just not for me. But anyway, yeah, so there's no love story. I mean, this guy thinks he's in love with somebody, but it's not really that person. And she's basically, manipulating him into falling in love with her so she could take advantage of him.
I guess the question is, and I think this is up to the viewer, is while she starts out with very ill intentions, does she over the course of this fall in love with him?
In my opinion, I think she does, because at the end, when she's on the beach, we see her reflecting.
Right.
And I think she's done this whole thing before. And I think this time she's on the beach kind of rolling over her regrets.
And kind of wondering, how much better would this be if I wasn't alone right now? What if that seat that's next to me was taken up by Ned?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But to me, all of that doesn't make a great love story.
No, it does not. It's not a love story.
This, in my opinion, is a really great neo-film noir.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lawrence Kasdan was a real big fan of kind of those kind of Cracker Jack serials from, the 40s, with hard scrabble detectives and femme fatales and all that stuff. And I think he wrote a really great modern version of that. I love this film. I've seen it many times. This is the first time I watched it with a lens specifically about the love story. And I don't think it really belongs on this list, but it's such a good movie. It was really hard to knock down a lot of aspects of it.
Yeah.
The chemistry between William Hurt.
Kathleen Turner in this movie is just...
She is like sex.
Screaming sex.
She is sex on a stick.
She really is.
She is like... That her like during that like the period, especially like the early to mid 80s, she was as sexy as anyone on screen like ever in history.
Yeah,
like she's not the most beautiful woman you've ever seen, but damn if she's not one of the sexiest women you've ever seen.
Yeah, she also has that smoldering, sexy voice to add to her sexiness. Yeah, her persona.
Yeah, and she's a great actress as well.
Yes, she is.
And the thing I really like most about this movie is that they play up how smart she is and how dumb Ned is.
Yes.
Like
it's very much a role reversal.
It's very much a role reversal. I think the treatment of women in this movie is actually pretty good. She is the one that's always in control for the most part, and she's always 2 steps ahead of Ned, who comes off as really, really dumb. Mm-hmm. And, she basically just like has him completely wrapped around her finger. I mean, he is whipped to an extent.
Well, yeah, I mean, he freaking murders her husband for her. So yeah, he's whipped.
Yeah, really great cast. Ted Danson plays the ADA. Richard Crenna plays her husband. It's just, there's a lot going on. The thing I love the most about it is the way this movie is shot. Like, you're watching it and you feel the humidity and the heat of this movie. You just feel how miserable it is. And
just like in like Do the Right Thing, they did a really, really good job of picturing heat. Yeah. Which is hard to do because you can't see it. Yeah. So it's just really atmospheric. Like everybody's got a dew on them, just from sweating but
if you've ever been in that temperature, like if you've ever been in Florida for any period of time, you like those whole like Florida man memes, like there's a reason that people go crazy down there. I mean, it's just oppressive. Like, you just see people do all kinds of stupid shit because their brains don't work.
Hot.
They're so hot. They're so miserable. Their brains don't work right. And Ned is just the thing I love the most about it is you have a lawyer, and lawyers generally are, you kind of get into like the Perry Mason kind of thing where like every lawyer that's on screen is an amazing lawyer, like the top of their class, this or that. And this guy's a dumb shit. Like, he is not a good lawyer. I don't know. We don't really know how good of a lawyer he is. He's not. Everyone, like, the whole movie makes it a point to talk about how inept he is.
That's true, yes.
Like, even, like, the ADA who's his friend.
Well, and that's why she...
This is why she chooses him, because she knows he's a dipshit. And the reason that guy, threw, his name to her was because he felt bad for him because of how bad he screwed up that case. Yes. So it's clear within the context of the movie, this guy is not a good lawyer. He is inept. He is the guy that the lowest levels of, you know, criminals have to you know, use, because he's the only one that they can afford. And frankly, he's barely a step up from, like, you know, representing yourself in court. That's kind of how he's portrayed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good stuff like that. There's just, like, you know, Lawrence Kasdan is an extremely good, you know, creator of screenplay. He writes really, you know, crafts things really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, the plot of this movie is very extensive, and it's really interesting. This is one of those movies where you just can't sit down and, like, do your bills and, like, do your thing with it. You really have to pay attention, or you're going to miss stuff. Yeah. So, but it's very well detailed. It's really well directed, really well filmed, and their chemistry. If we're basing the love story on their chemistry, that makes sense. Yeah. But as a love story itself, it's, again, based on lies and manipulation. It really shouldn't be on the list. This list in particular.
Yeah, it's probably it might ultimately still make the list because it's so much better than some of the films that we're going to be reviewing on this list. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. So we've watched about about 20% of the list at this point. Mm-hmm. Plus we've watched, I think, about another 20 or so that didn't make the list. So we're kind of mixing and matching. We're watching sometimes 2 or 3 movies a night right now, trying to, you know, really catch up.
We're doing this for you, for the everyday people.
We just have a lot of movies to watch, so we're kind of spending a lot of time watching it. You know, twist our arms. Movie fans. Yeah, movie fans have to watch movies.
The horror of having to watch movies.
Really? Yeah, exactly. But there are going to be movies that just aren't very good movies that won't make this list, that probably have better love stories to some extent. Yeah. This one might sneak on the bottom half of the list. Where it's at in the 90s is probably pretty appropriate, even though it's probably better than 50 or 60 movies that are on this list, just as objectively as a film. But as a love story, it's probably not. Yeah. Doesn't really deserve there. So I gave this movie a 75. If we were just objectively rating this movie as a movie, it would be much, much higher for me. Jerry gave it a 68. The list score is 71.5.
All right.
So that is Body Heat.
Number 94.
Yep. So if you want to continue this journey with us, please like and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Brad.
I'm Jerry.
And we're rating the list.
All right.
We'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.